matter what hour your clock strikes, here it's always Halloween. And I'm always your haunted host, Luce Tomlin Brenner. Welcome to Small Frights Friday. On these episodes, I like to curate a selection of calls from our All Hallows Hotline and letters from our EEEEK mailbag. But before we hear from our fellow lanterns, I like to take a minute to welcome the newest members of our Patreon Ghoul Gang, because they're the reason that Pete and I are able to make this podcast. I am truly over the moon to welcome a whopping 4 new patrons this month. Welcome Elle, Siobhan Brannigan, Andrew Todd, and Aubrey Dugan. We heard from Aubrey on our last episode. She wrote in to tell us about the thrift store reasons why we cannot find good Halloween stuff most of the year. Thank you for that. Again, Aubrey, we got a lot of great feedback on your letter. But Elle, Siobhan, Andrew, Aubrey, thank you for signing up this week on Patreon. We are now at 61% funded. Oh my goodness. That means we're only $192 away from our first goal of $500 a month, which is about how much it costs to produce the podcast each month. So I'm just totally blown away and so excited. My secret wish is that we hit 500 by October 1st. Wouldn't that be such a treat? So if you want to help keep It's Always Halloween ad-free, independent, and sustainable, go to our show notes and click on the Patreon link, or you can do a one-time donation via our tip jar, or you can go to patreon.com/itsalwayshalloween and sign up for one of our levels. You can join for even just $1 a month. And if everybody who listens just joined at the $1 level, we would be more than fully funded, and I would be able to maybe do this as a day job. Oh my God, dreams coming true. Oh, you know what another dream come true is? We are doing another Ghoul Gang movie night this Sunday, August 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm so excited to present the faculty. We're going back to school, baby. Or should I say back to ghoul? I absolutely adored Robert Rodriguez's 1998 teen alien horror flick when I was a kid. I saw it in the theater with one of my best friends, and we fell in love with Clea Duvall's character Stokely, so much so that now we're still friends, and anytime we see Clea Duvall in anything, we're like, oh, did you see Stokely's new thing? Really made an impact on us. So I'm excited to share this nostalgic love with you guys. And I'd love to hear if you have any great memories of the faculty, or if you haven't seen it before. It was also written by Kevin Williamson, who did the Scream franchise, most notably, as well as I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was the last Ghoul Gang movie night that we had. We did a double feature with the sequel, not written by Williamson. Very racist. Was not prepared for it. I have not seen it since I was a teenager, had good memories of it, and then it was just like extremely bad, not even fun. It was fun because we were all watching together and joking around, but it's not a good movie. I don't recommend it. Not worth revisiting. Just stick with the first one. So as always, it's never too late to join the event. I will accept new Ghoul Gang members up until showtime. And if you want to join just for the screening of the faculty discussion, chat, and live stream, you can just pay the one-time ticket cost of $10 via the tip jar at any time. Just make sure you message me after you pay so that I know to email you the link. The price of your ticket pays for the cost of the streaming app, as well as the labor and time I put into research and hosting. Looking forward to seeing many of you there. So, lanterns, it is now officially August. It feels like we've entered the very beginning of calendar Halloween. How are people feeling? Are your insides rattling? Are your bones chilled? I know it's like 90 degrees most places in America, so we're sweating our skulls off, but I think we're all ready to put on the black clothes and sit in leaves and chug pumpkin-flavored beverages. I know during August last year during the pandemic, a lot of people were starting to decorate in August to get the good times rolling. Where do you stand with that now? Are you back on decorating in August? Do you not start until September? Are there people out there listening who can actually wait until October? That would truly blow me away. So I like to get into the cleaning, clearing, and rearranging stage in August. I haven't really gotten to start much because I was wrapping up on my film Surprise, which I realized that a couple episodes ago, listener Ruth asked how everyone could see my new film, and I never answered that question. We're editing right now, and then we are going to have a private premiere in October and then do festivals. But I am happy to send private links out to anybody who is interested in seeing it, and I'll just let you guys know. I'll put it up on the Patreon, and then people can watch it from there. All right, so I'm doing a lot of editing, the editing stage on Surprise. So I haven't gotten to do any new Halloween stuff. I'm doing my regular Halloween stuff, which is like working on this podcast and just enjoying new Halloween songs, putting together a new Halloween playlist slowly but surely, looking at the movies I want to watch this season. But as far as decorating goes, I am not ready. I live in a 800 square foot, 1-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, Isaac, and we are stuff people. We like stuff. We are maximalists. We collect things. Our place is very lived in. It's like a cross between an abandoned funhouse, a Midwestern garage sale, and a poorly archived pop culture library. So I can't just get out decorations. As soon as I start pulling out boxes, everything turns into chaos because we just have a bedroom and a living room and a kitchen and then 2 closets. But there's a bathroom, but like there's no space. There's nowhere to like put boxes once they come out. We don't have like a spare room where you can like hide trash. You just see the trash all the time. So I have to be very calculated and just do a little bit at a time and have specific steps. But here's the thing. I am not calculated. I am easily excitable, which means I start home projects in a big fervor. I pull everything out. I'm very focused for a little bit. I immediately lose steam, and then I am left living amongst a spirit day of Halloween free-for-all landscape. You know how it looks if you've ever dared to go into a spirit on Halloween or Halloween weekend, and it's just like post-apocalyptic Halloween world? That ends up happening in my apartment every year. And I try not to, I try, but I just can't quite get a smooth transition from summer into Halloween when it comes to decorations. So I would love to hear what your decorating habits are. Do you come and go in wild waves like me, or are you more deliberate? Do you just live in an affordable place with many rooms and storage options? I would love to hear everyone's decorating stories, ideas, questions, tips, because we're getting there. This is the very exciting part, is I found this, because the stores are putting things out and makers are releasing items and just starting the new collection for 2021. It's an exciting time. So I want to hear about everybody's decorating stories. But first, today, we've got a whole new other topics to talk about. In fact, very exciting. We're going to get things kicked off today with an old-fashioned ghost story.
Hello, Luce, and all the lanterns out there. Since it's midsummer, I thought I would share a summertime ghost story. My name's Steve, and I live in Michigan. And this story is about Grand Island, Michigan, and it's a ghost story / mystery. So here it is. I wrote it out, and I'm going to go with it off of my page. So in the summer of 2007 and 2009, while I was attending Central Michigan University, I took a student conservation internship with the U.S. Forest Service on Grand Island, Michigan. Grand Island is located between 1 and 3 miles off the coast of Munising, Michigan, in Lake Superior. It is mostly used for recreation, with a few summer homes on the south side of the island. The length of the island is about 9 miles from south to north. There is a road in the middle of the island now, but there wasn't always one there. On the north side of the island, there is a cliff which is home to the North Point Lighthouse. About a mile down from the cliff, there's also a beach on the north side of the island. So back in the early days of lighthouses, when there was no road or cars on the island, the keepers and assistant keepers would have to row a boat around the island, maybe 12 to 18 miles depending on the wind direction or what side of the island they were going around. One early spring, the keeper and assistant keeper loaded up supplies in the rowboat and rowed around the island to open up shop before the shipping season in Lake Superior started. They were to go for a few days, open the lighthouse, fill it with supplies, and come back down to Munising. Days went by, and the two keepers were not heard from. There were some rumors that the two did not get along very well. Well, after a week, the wives got nervous, the wives of the lighthouse keepers, and sent the local sheriff up to check on the keepers. When the sheriff was able to get up to the lighthouse, this is what they found. No boat at either docking spot below the cliff or on the beach down the road. The door to the lighthouse was open, coats were hung on the hooks, all of the supplies were brought into the lighthouse, and they were sitting on the kitchen table unopened. But there was no sign of the keepers anywhere. The sheriff did a thorough search of the woods and turned up no clues as to where they were. At this point, the mystery started. About 2 weeks later, about 50 miles down the lakeshore in Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore area, the rowboat washed up with the assistant keeper deceased in the boat, and his head was beaten to smithereens. Some stories say that the main keeper was never seen again, but I did recently read that his body washed up about 2 months later. Nobody was ever able to figure out what happened to the lighthouse keeper or the assistant keeper. And this is the creepy part of the ghost story right here. Legend over the years say that the keepers haunt the north part of the island, and as these particular ghosts like to do, they dismantle anything electronic. Weird things have happened to the owners of the lighthouse, backpackers in the area, or even boaters that park along the north part of the island. Well, as for me, I had heard all these rumors and was interning with the Forest Service. We were taking 2 trucks up to the north lighthouse to do some work in the area, and then the truck I was driving right at mile 8.5 towards the north part of the island started flashing all the lights, and then the truck just shut off. It broke down. And it turns out that the alternator decided to die right up in the north end of the island. But it makes me wonder if the ghost had anything to do with this, since the ghost liked to dismantle electronics. Well, sorry the story was extremely long, but there's also a book that gives a lot more detail than my little story did. And that book is called Death at the Lighthouse, a Grand Island Riddle. And it's written by Lauren R. Graham. I love your show. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Happy middle of summer. And Halloween's in about 4 months from now. Bye, everyone.
Ooh, Steve, absolutely chilling. I loved it. I've never heard a ghost story about a lighthouse, but I do find lighthouses to be very compelling and a little... they just seem like they would be haunted because it's something that's been around for hundreds of years. The lighthouse feels like an old world thing, but we still need them, which is interesting. And, I grew up in Ohio, so I have that Great Lakes lighthouse fascination, but I've never heard this story before. I absolutely loved it. I love that you have a personal connection to it, that it's historical. And it's so cool that there is a book about it written by Lauren R. Graham, not to be confused with Lorelai Gilmore, Lauren Graham. Although, what if it was the same Lauren Graham? Oh my goodness, that lady contains multitudes. A delight. So I will put a link to that book in the show notes so people can check that out. Sounds like you've had a really fascinating life, Steve. Thank you for this call. Please don't apologize about it being long. It was a great story. There's nothing to apologize about. Appreciate your time and care that you took reading it to us. And, it took a month to get it on the air, but hey, this is exciting. It's now only 3 months to Halloween. All right, we have another ghost story. So we're going to keep the creeps going. This one is a EEEEKmail, and it goes like this. Hello, I have a ghost story I want to share. Ever since I was little, I've been, quote, sensitive to the other side. When I was a freshman in high school, I went to a friend's grandparents' house to meet up and do homework. Their house had a big, bifurcated staircase right when you walked in, and the rooms upstairs were lined around the staircase railing. Upon walking in, an old man with a cane was walking down the left side of the stairs, and he said, "Hello, how are you?" I responded, "I'm good. I'm looking for Allie. Do you know where she is?" He proceeded to point to one of the rooms and said, "That's her bedroom. You may check in there first." So I did. Allie was surprised that I found her room so quickly, and I told her that her granddad told me where to go. She looked shocked and rushed out of the room to tell her grandma. The next thing I knew, they were flipping through an old photo album, pointing to various pictures of the same man. "Is this who you saw?" they asked. "Yes," I responded. "Why?" They then confirmed that it was Allie's grandfather, but he had passed away 4 years ago. It was really surprising because he just seemed so real to me. He looked completely alive, not ghostly at all. It makes me wonder how many other conversations I've unknowingly had with ghosts. Being sensitive does have its perks. My encounter gave my friend and her grandmother some closure, knowing that he was still around and watching over them, and that he seemed well, not suffering as he had when he had passed. I just started listening to the podcast, but I'm already obsessed. Thanks a lot, Dorian. Thank you, Dorian. Wow, what a cool story. I can't imagine that feeling of your friend and her grandmother looking at you so shocked and you just being like, "What?" I was just having a conversation, like not knowing that you were talking with someone who wasn't really there. But I'd be curious to know if anyone else, if you still kept in touch with that friend, if anyone else had ever seen anybody, or if maybe they themselves had seen their grandfather, because it's just so sweet that he's just like there living the life still. And I would find that really comforting to know that I was being like looked out after. That being said, I've said this before, love the idea of being looked after by my grandparents, but also not up for seeing a ghost. I'm very delicate. I really like fiction. But in real life, I do need things to be very cut and dry in my own home, especially when I'm by myself. Dorian, that was such a great story, though. And if you ever want to share any of your other sensitive experiences, we'd love to hear them. All right, up next, we've got a call from a lantern with a disgusting treat to share.
Hello, Lucy. This is Brian, giving another call because I just felt inspired by listening to some people's Halloween stories. This is not directly a Halloween story, but it is Halloween themed. I think it was my 17th birthday party. And not to date myself too terribly, but it was based around Return to Halloween Town. Unfortunately, not the best in the series. Anyways, the thing that really got me wanting to call in is hearing about the apple bobbing. My friends and I that night created something that was kind of, well, it was a nastier mutation of the sport, if you will. It was bobbing for apples, sure, but you had your hands cinched together behind you with a belt. The water was not water. It was a giant tub of Faygo, a soda that's very popular in Michigan. And on top of that, a thick layer of whipped cream. So, by far, from what I've heard anybody do, this is probably the most disgusting variation that I know of. And I just really wanted to share that with you. Stay spooky. Goodbye.
Brian, as I was listening to that, I was saying, no, oh no, no. I just think that this is one of the grossest things I've ever heard because, as you know, I already think that apple bobbing is a gross game that sounds really cute, looks really cute. In actuality, is a terrifying germ fest of spit and wet bangs. So mixing Faygo into that, I have full chills. I'm extremely uncomfortable right now. And I haven't even mentioned the whipped cream part yet. Oh my God. I'm so happy you know it's disgusting because it'd be so difficult for me to pretend to be psyched if you were like, I'm calling in with the hottest new trend in apple bobbing. I want all the lanterns to get down with this. I couldn't keep it together. I'd have to say, you're banned for life from the hotline. JK, there's no banning from the hotline. Not when you're also super sweet. Not when you're also Faygo sweet. My goodness. All right, well, you know what this means. I have to hear about the grossest things that you guys have consumed on Halloween, obviously. Brian, you've opened up a can of disgusting worms. The grossest, slimiest, spit-covered, whipped creamiest worms. I blame you, but also I'm kind of excited. All right, let's get into our next EEEEKmail. This one is about trick-or-treating. Hi, Luce. I'm making my way through some of the recent episodes, and after listening to your discussion on non-candy treats, I was compelled to share my Halloween 2020 trick-or-treating extravaganza. Oh, I love an extravaganza. Thank you so much. First off, some backstory. I grew up in a house where Halloween was a capital big deal. I have vivid memories of sitting on our dining room table, stuffing little baggies with candy and small toys that we ordered from catalogs in the 90s. My dad used to sit on the front porch with spooky music playing, dressed up in a scary mask, and he'd freak out all of the neighborhood kids. My younger sister would every year draw a neighborhood map to make sure we were getting the most out of our chosen routes, and we even kept tallies of the number of kids so that we could compare our showings each year. My dad was a statistician, so of course we did that. As adults, we would frequently go back home during trick-or-treating. We eventually started to make a habit of calling off of work to make sure that we could sit around as a coven and pass out candy. Oh, I love that. We had stopped making baggies of toys by the time I got to high school. Please note, now we are all in our 30s and none of us have children. Fast forward to last year, 2020. Both of our parents have passed away, but my sisters and I take Halloween very seriously. One of us has moved into our childhood home, so the tradition continues. We have stew, we drink wine from goblets, we set up our spooky porch. Our city allowed for social distanced trick-or-treating last year, so we made sure to do it as big as possible while being extra safe. We knew exactly what to do. The results were baggies of Halloween toys and candy, mostly from Target. left out on the table with a smoky cauldron for little goblins to grab while we shouted well wishes from the porch. And neighbors even had those tubes that they shot candy down. We ended up having over 100 kids, which is not unheard of for the neighborhood, but absolutely shocking for COVID Halloween. Even though I wasn't at my own house that year, it didn't sit right with me leaving it void of treats. We don't usually get a lot of kids. Like, I've literally never successfully been able to get a trick-or-treater in the 5 years that I've lived here. One time I saw one across the street and I shouted at them that I had candy. So before heading out to the main event at my siblings' house, I set up a station for trick-or-treaters at my own house. Since no alive person would be sitting on the porch, I hid a motion sensor sound maker with Dwight Fry's laugh from the 1931 Universal Dracula. This was a favorite of our dad's, and then she included a link, so I will put that in the show notes. So there's a motion sensor with Dwight Fry's laugh uploaded to it so that when kids would approach the bucket, they got spooked. And by the time I got home, the bucket was totally empty. My husband watched from inside and reported quite a showing. Not nearly 100, but still. I hope this gives some inspiration for non-traditional, if not entirely extra options for trick-or-treating this year. 2020 was really hard for everyone, and I'm so glad that we were able to give some kids a sense of normalcy and fun without having to solely rely on trunk or treat, which is a nice supplement, but can never fully replace trick or treat. I think that the trick or treat goodie bags are back and they're here to stay. Thanks, Ashley. Heck yeah, Ashley. Let's make sure goodie bags are happening. I'm so obsessed with the little treat bags. You'll see them sometimes like on eBay or Instagram, somebody's selling vintage treat bags. And they're so cozy to me. The little like white opaque plastic with trick or treat written on them in kind of like a jerky writing. And there's like a haunted house or a witch or a little moon and a cat. And they are just my favorite things. In school, teachers would, give you a little bag, all the students a little bag with some treats in it, or maybe you'd get it from a neighbor. It just has such a cozy vibe to me. So bring back the Halloween treat bags, you guys. I love that you put little toys in too. Gosh, that's so freaking cute. I love it. I'm happy you got to have such a nice Halloween and that you got to give the kids in your community a nice Halloween too. That sounds really, really special. And I'm really grateful that you shared this story with me. Anybody who gets to go to your house or your sibling's house is going to be a really lucky kid. And I also love 1931's Dracula. Your dad sounds like such a hoot. I'm sure you miss your parents so much, and it sounds like you're really helping, keep their memory soaring through this Halloween celebration. And that's just really special and unique and so cool that you and your siblings get to come together like that. All right, we have one more hotline call, so let's see what awaits us.
Hi, Lucy. Sorry, I'm laughing. I didn't realize this hotline was so funny at the beginning. It's cute. I love it. But I just wanted to call in. This is my first time ever. I'm sort of new to the podcast. My name is Hannah. I'm 21, and I'm from Southern Utah, actually. But I have been really inspired lately. I found the podcast around the beginning of June and have completely caught up since then. I listen to a lot of podcasts at work. So the past 2 weeks, I've been able to listen to the episodes as they come out, and hearing all the new people really just kind of inspired me to come on and share my own little story. So I wanted to do just that. I'm a July baby, and it was just kind of a rough birthday month for me, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. But one fun thing that I got to do is I actually follow another YouTuber, and I'm sure a lot of people also know who she is, Jade the Libra, who does a lot of Halloween decor videos and all year round. She's super into it. So she does a book club, a Halloween-themed book club all year long, and does a new book each month. So this was my first month participating in that. And while I was doing that and we were reading our spooky book, I was reminded of a book from my own childhood that was called Halloween Pie that I used to check out every time they would let me. They stopped letting me so many times growing up from my elementary school library. It's a children's picture book, and it's called Halloween Pie, and it's by Michael O'Tunnell and Kevin O'Malley. And it's just the cutest little children's picture book about a witch that bakes a pie. And there's like a ghost and a vampire and like Frankenstein and a banshee. It's adorable. It's the cutest little story. And I wanted to put it out there for anyone who's looking for something it's kind of vintage to me. I was born in 2000 and it was written in the 90s. But I searched and searched for it online when I first remembered it. Couldn't find anything. Searched thrift books online. Searched like Facebook Marketplace, all these different places, and eventually ended up finding it on kind of some really sketchy book website. And I bought it for like $4 and like 23 cents or something. And it came and it's like totally what I wanted. And it just has like this sort of vintage feel in a way. It was like the drawing and the art style, but it's just like so wholesome, but also so Halloween. And I just really felt inspired to share it with everyone. And if anyone's looking for a Halloween book club, definitely look out.
Oh, Hannah, I think you got cut off. You can always call back. The hotline gives you about 2 to 3 minutes, and people get cut off, they call back. I edit it together seamlessly. No, I don't do anything. I am charming and I'm the talent. Pete does all the actual really difficult hard work that I don't know how to do, which is editing. So I can't believe I just said I'm going to get edited right off my own podcast. I don't do the editing. Pete edits together all the phone calls if people have to call twice. But I'm sorry you got cut off, Hannah. Your call was so great. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you found us and that you came with such cool recommendations. I have never heard of that book before, but the cover illustration was so cool when I looked it up. I'll definitely be linking to that in the show notes. I wanted to find some more pages. Sometimes you can do that with picture books and see the other illustrations, like the style was so cool on the cover. I was like, I want to see more about what this book is about. But really hard, like you said, I trusted you, but I also was like, wanted to do my own digging. I love to dig. But yeah, I couldn't find any other pictures from the book. So hopefully I can track it down too, because it looks really fun. You got my interests all stoked. And then, I don't know that much about YouTubers. It's kind of a blind spot for me, so I appreciate the YouTube recommendation as well. There's just 2 people that I follow, friends of mine, Matt from Dinosaur Dracula and Jay from Sludge Central. They both have a huge Halloween presence every year, and they do a podcast together called the Purple Stuff Podcast, which puts out my favorite Halloween episodes. I listen to their old Halloween episodes anytime I start to feel kind of bummed or uninspired. And they both had blogs since like the early 2000s that I got really into back when blogging was all the rage, but they still keep them up. And just highly recommend. They have blogs, their podcast, and YouTube channels as well. That's Sludge Central and Dinosaur Dracula. I'll link those in the show notes, but otherwise I don't know anything about YouTube people. So it's awesome to have a new person on my radar. All right, guys, you might be able to tell this. I am losing my voice. I have been nonstop talking for days. So we're going to wrap up this episode. And hey, if you want to chime in, I've been asking so many questions. I want to hear from you. Please give us a call at 802-532-DEAD or drop us that EEEKmail at it'salwayshalloweenpodcast@gmail.com. As I said at the top of the podcast, if you love It's Always Halloween, please subscribe at patreon.com/it'salwayshalloween or make a one-time donation using our tip jar. Thank you so much. We truly could not make this show without you guys. This episode of It's Always Halloween was performed by me, Luce Tomlin Brenner, with help from your fellow lanterns, Steve, Dorian, Brian, Ashley, and Hannah. Thanks so much for your incredible contributions, guys. As I corrected myself before, the editing, theme music, sound design, everything that makes this podcast run on time, it's all done by the incredible Pete Burns. Thank you so much, Pete. I'm sorry I tried to take credit for your job earlier. That was a mistake, and I'm really sorry. You can follow me personally on Instagram and Twitter at LTB Comedy. Pete, you can follow at Mittenberries. And of course, you can follow the show at It's Always Halloween Podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, write us a little review, help other people find us. It's a really free and easy way that you can support the podcast. And you know, when people are looking at podcasts, they're not sure if they should listen to them, they look at the reviews. If there's a lot of reviews, you look a little more legit. So help people see how legit we are. We're also on the NPR One app, so you can subscribe there. And of course, tell Ira Glass that you are obsessed with us so that I can star on This American Life one day. Thank you so much for listening to It's Always Halloween. And please come back next time unless your electrical wires get messed with by the ghosts of the Lighthouse.